Liberia joins other countries around the world in expressing deep concern over the detention of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. Former Foreign Minister Dr. Toga McIntosh recommends neutrality in Liberia's diplomatic position amidst tense geopolitics. And away from Liberia, Uganda denies plans of internet blockage during our country's pending elections. These stories and much more, including sports, the weather forecast, the news in Liberian English and French. But first, Crystal and the news bulletin.
Deputy House Speaker Thomas Fowler has vowed not to support the Congress for Democratic Change or former President George Weah in any future elections. Mr. Fowler said his loyalty now lies with President Joseph Boakai based on his enormous transformation currently taking place across the country. He emphasized that if President Boakai does not appear on the ballot, he would support any candidate that will be endorsed by him. Representative Fala also highlighted 20 years committed service with the city since 2004, clarifying that nothing can serve as a reason to go against President Boakai. The Deputy House Speaker pledged his family's support to the president, stressing that he will continue rallying his supporters and citizens of Liberia to ensure that President Boakai's agenda is achieved. Deputy House Speaker Thomas Fowler has reaffirmed his support to President Joseph Boakai. Speaking on the Super Morning Show Monday, Deputy House Speaker Fowler said his support to President Boakai is not temporary but long-term and holistic. Representative Fowler disclosed that his support is based on President Boakai's decision to reconcile and unite every citizen of Lofa and beyond.
This support is not just temporary, it's holistic, it's elastic.
The Deputy House Speaker said the President's intervention has achieved a major milestone as Lofa County citizens who were once divided are now working together for the betterment of the county. The Lofa County District 1 representative said he will continue to support the President's transformational and development agenda in the interest of the country. Liberia, along with Democratic Republic of Congo and Somalia, has expressed deep concern over the detention of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and his wife and the impact on regional stability. Speaking on behalf of the three countries at an emergency UN Security Council meeting in New York, Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Louis Brown, stressed the importance of dialogue, respect, and constitutional frameworks and international law. According to Ambassador Brown, the three countries are calling for a peaceful resolution in Venezuela. He urged restraint from all parties to avoid escalating tensions and pledged Liberia's support for peaceful, inclusive resolutions. Ambassador Brown also noted that the three countries, Liberia, DR Congo, and Somalia, have endorsed the African Union's commitment to peace and mutual respect among nations. The three nations also called for a comprehensive, inclusive, and nationally owned response to the situation in Venezuela, advocating for constructive dialogue among Venezuelans and the support of the international community. Former Foreign Minister Dr. Toga McIntosh has urged the government to maximize Liberia's representation at the United Nations Security Council to domestic that benefits domestic development. Over the weekend, Liberia formally assumed her role as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council for a two-year tenure beginning 2026. In an interview on Super Morning Show Monday, Dr. McIntosh said Liberia must move beyond representation to accrue tangible infrastructure and economic benefits. The former foreign minister and vice president of ECOWAS, described Liberia's ascendancy toward body as an opportunity to rebrand the country's image globally. He wants the government to leverage the United Nations Security Council seat to strengthen robust development diplomacy abroad. Meanwhile, Dr. Toga McIntosh is recommending a soft power posture for Liberia amidst heightened geopolitical tension. Dr. McIntosh stated that a soft power posture is a position of neutrality to avoid undermining its relationship with allies, including the United States and China. The former Foreign Minister told ELBC Monday that what is unfolding among powerful nations will have serious ripple down effects on countries like Liberia.
Some diplomacy ahead of the consultations with the Shrine.
Dr. Toga McIntosh said the best way to avoid the country's domestic development from being undermined is to carry on intense consultations and remain neutral. He urged the government to support and build the capacity of personnel at Liberia's permanent mission to the United Nations in order to make the right decisions. Criminal Court A. Judge Rutherford Willie has announced a mistrial in the Aston case involving former House Speaker Fanati Kopa and 14 others at the Temple of Justice. Mistrial means the trial is terminated without a verdict and that the entire panel jury has been disbanded and dismissed, and a new trial is required to start anew. The court further said the statement by juryman J309863 was biased when he insinuated that the photo of the witness looks like a Chinese and what he saw was not of Thomas Ettridge, who had already formed a strong opinion on the presentation of persecution as first witness documentary evidence. The statement, according to the court, prevented him from acting with entire impartiality and with prejudice to the substantial rights of prosecution, noting other reasons for the disbandment, among others. On the issue of inflammatory statements made by lawyers in the presence of jurors, the court also answered in the affirmative, adding that some inflammatory statements were made by both prosecution and defense lawyers. Earlier on, prosecution alleged that some of the jurors were seen in open court sharing information, communicating and consulting each other before exchanging questions and notes while engaging their first witness on the stand, thus terming the act of the jurors as prejudicious. Meanwhile, defense took an exception to the court's ruling and said it will be unjust and unfair to keep the defendants in prison and wants the defendants to be admitted to bail because the abrupt termination of the trial means that a new trial will take place in February 10 or maybe later. The General Auditing Commission says financial compliance of the National Public Health Institute of Liberia (NPHIL) has significantly improved. It followed the release of an audit report covering August 20, 2024 to August 31, 2025. The GAC said the report shows NPHIL's compliance implementation of audit recommendations rose to 80% from 61% in previous audit follow-ups, according to Auditor General's annual progress report on the implementation of audit recommendation for NPHIL. The audit follow-ups constitute part of a nationwide exercise conducted at 62 government entities. The results demonstrate that NPHIL implemented 75 out of 93 audit recommendations reviewed during the second phase of the exercise, which represents 81%, placing the institution in the significant implementation category. The Liberia Revenue Authority (LRA) is craving the intervention of the executive to ensure the entity gets its incentives for surpassing the threshold of both 2024 and 2025 national budgets. LRA Commissioner General Doba Jala said the act establishing the LRA charged the Liberian government to provide revenue house setting incentives whenever it surpasses the targeted budget Commissioner Jala told a news conference recently in Painesville for the past two budget years, government through the Ministry of Finance is yet to adhere to such mandates.
Here, that letter was asking for incentive as per the law for both last year. The minister himself called back to tell me that during our performance, is that LRA really deserved for the law says. They're waiting the president return from FOIA to issue the president.
The LRA Commissioner General said the delay in providing the incentive could demotivate LRA employees in the discharge of their duties. Meanwhile, Commissioner Jala has vowed to continue engaging the Finance Ministry and relevant stakeholders to ensure the LRA gets its incentives to foster effective revenue mobilization. Grand Judy County Senator Zoe Penner has sharply refuted allegations that he received 25,000 United States dollars from former President George Weah. The denial comes amid former Montserrado County District 8 Representative Moses Gray's claim that the former president did fulfill his pledge. Our correspondent said the Grand Judy County lawmaker officially apologized to the church on behalf of former President Weah for the unfulfilled pledge. The presumed pledge was made by former President Weah in February 2021 when he visited the LM Chapel Assemblies of God Church in Zwedru, Grand Judy County for its construction. Meanwhile, the truth of the pledge on fulfillment is yet to be established. The Liberia Independent Elder Council for Peace and Reconciliation is calling on the government to ensure speedy trial of officials of government accused of corruption. The council's chairman, Elder Samuel Phillips, said the speedy prosecution of both past and current officials accused of siphonning public resources is critical to upholding accountability and transparency. Elder Phillips made the call over the weekend at a news conference in Congo Town.
When people are investigated before guilty, they need to be penalized. And if other people will not follow me to go see and appealing to the president to have the people for them to have speedy investigation. If they are found guilty, they should be penalized.
He also wants President Boakai to take stringent actions against officials linked to corruption scandals as part of government's priorities for 2026. Meanwhile, the council's vice chair for administration, Moses Casserly, has expressed the council's renewed commitment to working closely with the government to reconcile the country. Backpalo County Senator Boto Kane has turned over a modern market building to residents of Smithtown in the county. According to our correspondent, the market building was officially turned over on New Year Day for use by marketers of Smithtown and neighboring communities. Residents of the benefiting community say the new market will enable them to sell their goods and products uninterrupted. They thanked Senator Boto Kane for the initiative and called on other lawmakers to follow suit for the betterment of the county. And the Justice Ministry has concluded its nationwide 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence in Buchanan and Grand Bassa County. The campaign, which focused on protecting women and children in both physical communities and digital spaces, was finalized on December 31 last year. According to a release, the dialogue was organized to increase awareness of violence against women, girls, and other vulnerable groups during the festive season. The campaign held under the national theme, Unite to End Violence, protecting all women and children in our communities and digital spaces, with global theme, Unite to End Digital Violence against all women and girls. The Justice Ministry says the themes reflect the growing concern over both community-based and online abuses, including cyberbullying and privacy violations.
Chris, now in the news bulletin, one of the top stories, Liberia joins other countries around the world